Hello everybody and welcome to another breakdown video, this time for UFC 244 that takes place this weekend. One of the biggest events of the year. I'm so excited for this. The card is absolutely stacked full of amazing fights, and in today's video we will be doing two things. The first thing that we are going to do is trying to work out just how good Johnny Walker is, because there's tons of hype behind him at the moment. And the second thing we're going to be doing is taking a deep dive into his fight this weekend against Corey Anderson. A fight that's very, very interesting. A fight with reasonably good odds on both guys. So fingers crossed in this video we will be able to find a very good betting opportunity based on the footage that we study together, because as you guys know, I do not share opinions. All I share is facts. I just show you the footage. We see things for ourselves like we did last week on the Maia versus Askren fight. And hopefully from the stuff we see, we'll be able to find some decent bets. Now, this is an interesting fight because if we think about it, over the last few weeks, we've seen really, really hyped fighters like Kron Gracie, like Ben Askren, like Michel Pereira. They've all come unstuck, even though they've had massive deficiencies in their skill set beforehand. Everyone still got on board with all three of those guys and thought they were better than they actually were. So Johnny Walker, relatively inexperienced, is he good enough to live up to this hype? Or can you put him in the same box as guys like Kron Gracie and Askren and Pereira, who ultimately turned out to be fatally flawed? Hopefully we are going to answer that question in this video today. And remember, in the last few weeks we did bet on Cub Swanson and also Damian Maia. We went against Askren, we went against Gracie, we didn't buy into the hype. So will we do the same again today and bet on Corey Anderson? Who knows? We've got a good amount of footage to study on Johnny Walker to find out. But before we get into that, you are probably wondering where I have been, where the old style of videos are, and why I haven't been uploading very much lately. Well, the answer to that question is the amount of MMA we are getting bombarded with at the moment is nothing short of insane. Since the end of August, we had back-to-back UFC events every single weekend, and also Bellator are holding more events than ever before. I mean, just last week there was 2 Bellator events, which was insane. I literally did nothing but study fights from the time I woke up till Monday morning until the time I went to bed, early hours of Sunday morning after Bellator 232 was done. But this week is much quieter, much better, which means I can really take my time on this card, provide you guys with loads of content, and enjoy the research process for UFC 244, because we don't have any Bellator this week. We've just got one UFC event, which gives you plenty of time to get through these fights and plan out nice videos to bring you guys. So I'm going to be bringing you as much content this week as possible. Back to the old regular style of breakdown videos that I know many of you prefer. And of course, I wish I could do them more often, but they just take a lot of planning, a lot of time. So in these weeks where we're getting bombarded by loads of MMA, it's just not possible. There aren't enough hours in the day for me to do them. But this week is a golden opportunity for me to do these videos. And you are probably wondering how I feel about the fight between Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal. You're probably really looking forward to a video for that fight, but I'm in a bit of a sticky situation, boys, because I definitely want to bet the fight between Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal. At the moment, there is one guy that I am heavily leaning towards, but I've got a problem. You guys know me. I don't care about being the smartest guy in the bar. I don't care about building a giant audience on YouTube. All I care about is making money, putting money in the bank, and trying to win bets. And the problem I've got, if I put a video out now where I break down the fight between Masvidal and Diaz, telling you guys exactly how I think the fight is going to play out, and then 10,000 people go and watch that video because, you know, on the big events, 7 to 10,000 people watch those videos. Problem is, that's a shitload of people watching those videos, and that is more than enough people to move the betting lines. So I'm in a very tricky position at the moment, boys, because I want to bet on a fighter in that fight. I also want to bring you a breakdown video, but what is the point of me bringing you a breakdown video at this stage in the week when if we wait, the odds will improve? But if I come out and say, you know, bet this guy, the odds will stop improving because loads of people that watch this video will go out and bet him. So that is the dilemma I'm in at the moment. So I thought we could do a business deal. I promise you, I will bring you a breakdown video in the traditional style, 20 to 30 minutes long, on Masvidal versus Diaz as soon as this video gets 1,000 likes. As soon as this video gets 1,000 likes, within the next 12 hours, I will put a video out for Diaz against Masvidal. So do you need to do, boys? Hit the like button on this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it on your forums, share it on your social media profiles. As soon as we get those 1,000 likes, I will put that breakdown out. And that's a scratch my back, scratch your back kind of deal. Let's get it. Let's get those likes on this video, which we should be able to do because a shitload of people out there care about this Walker versus Corey Anderson fight. And now, I would also like to say a big shout out to one of the members on my website who is called Tobias. The last week, he sent me this illustration that he put together, and I think it's absolutely amazing. Like I usually find stuff like this proper embarrassing, but when he sent this to me, I couldn't believe how good it was. It's absolutely incredible. So Tobias, thank you so much, dude. Tobias is a member on my website. Like I say, he reached out to me last week, sent this to me. It was a total surprise. It was totally out of the blue. I think it's absolutely amazing. And also, boys, look at some of the other work that this guy has done. So this was a painting. This was an illustration of Alexander Gustafsson and Anthony Rumble Johnson that Tobias has done. Like, look how fucking great this is, boys. Seriously. This is amazing. And Tobias doesn't realize how good he is. He is a beast. And his artwork is absolutely incredible, boys. So if you think Tobias is very, very good at what he does, if you think his artwork is sick, if you love this illustration of Gustafsson, please, boys, leave a comment in the YouTube video below and let Tobias know how much of a beast he is, because he is crazy talented and he just doesn't realize how good he is. So please drop a comment below. This guy is a sick artist, and he needs to be told he's a sick artist because he doesn't realize that he's fucking amazing. He's one of these humble dudes. They don't realize how talented they are. So please leave a comment below in YouTube, boys, and let Tobias know that he is the real deal and his artwork is absolutely sick. So now, boys, now we have got all that boring shit out the way, let's get into the shit you are here for. Remember, if you are watching live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Diary of a Pro Gambler, I will leave a link in the description below. If you would prefer to watch these live streams live instead of after fact on YouTube, check that out on Twitch. I will link below. But if you do have any questions throughout this video, please drop them in the live chat on Twitch and I will get to them throughout the video. Also, there is a part of this video that I'm not sure I'm going to be able to upload to YouTube. So I will be including one fight that might be copyright restricted on YouTube. It might not be. So there may be a chunk of this video missing, is basically what I'm trying to say. If you see like a sudden jump cut on YouTube, it will be because I've had to cut one of the fights out of Johnny Walker's that I want to study. And anyway, let's get right into studying that fight right now. First of all, I suppose before we get into that, we better go through X factors, hadn't we? So first of all, let's take a look at where Corey Anderson beasting, what's his name? Beasting, oh, he's changed it. Used to be beasting something or other. Anyway, where has Corey Anderson been training for this fight? Usually, of course, he trains with Frankie Edgar, Nick Catone, Eddie Alvarez, all those boys down in New York City. Here we can see him with Sean Brady, who looked amazing a few weeks back. Very, very nice when he picked up a win over Court McGee. This is Carl Robertson, of course, UFC middleweight, I believe, or light heavyweight, not quite sure, can't remember. But yeah, anyway, that is the team that Corey Anderson trains with. Here we can see him with Zabit Magomed Sharapov. Got a big fight coming up against Calvin Kattar in the next few weeks. And who's in this picture? Anyone we recognise? Yes, this is, what is this guy's name? Randy Brown. Randy Brown. God, I'm getting old, boys. I think I'm catching dementia or something. Randy Couture. So yeah, Corey Anderson trains with some pretty legit guys. Let's see who Johnny Walker is rolling with. Now, I better put UFC, otherwise the whiskey's going to come up. Are we going to be able to find his profile? There we go, Johnny Walker UFC. Who is Johnny Walker rolling with? Very nice illustration there. Although I'm sure Tobias could do better. Couldn't you, mate? You could do much better than that. What else have we got? So where's he been training? So there's some training picture of him in Russia. Russian top team, this looks like. Russian top team Moscow. Don't recognise anyone in that picture though. Okay. Yeah, American top team Moscow. Very interesting. Didn't know that was a thing. Don't recognise anyone in that picture. So this looks like AKA Thailand. That's a bit more promising than a random gym in Russia. SBG Ireland. Alright, so this looks like up until, back to this post then. That goes back to... So, I haven't really seen anyone notable that what Johnny Walker's training with. So yeah, in terms of where he's been training, that's pretty much an unknown, boys, to be real. If you do know, drop a comment on the Twitch live chat, boys, and let me know where he has been training. So yeah, X Factors. If we look at the size, Corey Anderson, 6'3", 79-inch reach. Johnny Walker, 6'5" and an 82-inch reach. So he'll have a slight 3-inch reach advantage and a 2-inch height advantage. Not major. Little bit of an advantage, but nothing major. Doesn't really mean that much statistically. So yeah, that is pretty much it, boys. So now let's go into studying some footage. Well, I guess before we watch the footage, I should kind of explain what Mr. Corey Anderson brings to the table and how we should be viewing this fight. Because remember, when we're viewing a fight, we should be looking at it through a betting lens, through a gambling lens. Doesn't matter who you think will win or lose. We need to know what the odds are. We need to know the strengths and weaknesses of both fighters. Of course, I've already researched Corey Anderson's last 4 fights this afternoon, so I know what he brings to the table. Now we're watching Johnny Walker to see what he brings to the table. So yes, if we look at the odds, currently Johnny Walker is around about, at best, a 1.67 favourite. Where's my calculator gone? Let's just get this up. 2 secs, boys. 1.67 favourite for Walker, which is minus 149 for an implied probability of 60%. So in order to bet Johnny Walker here, you've got to give him a 65% or better chance of winning. Remember that. So when we're watching Walker, we always need to be asking ourselves the question, no matter how we feel about a fight, can I give this guy a 65% chance of winning? Because if you can't bet him. And then we go on to looking at Walker's odds, Anderson's odds. Current average odds are around about 2.35, which is plus 135 for an implied probability of 43%. So what I'd be looking to bet Anderson here would be at least 50%. Obviously, based on what I've seen, it is going to be a risky bet if you take Anderson. So you'd want to cap him at least 50-50. Of course, we don't know where we cap him, but we should gain an idea after we watch some of Walker's past fights. So in terms of what Corey Anderson brings to the table, obviously we have general knowledge of both fighters before watching Walker. I've done extensive research into Corey Anderson already. With Corey Anderson, he is obviously primarily a wrestler. This is going to be a classic striker versus grappler matchup. Walker being the striker, Anderson being the grappler. And if we look at Corey Anderson's record, one of the things that you will notice is that, has got a few losses by KO on his record. Knocked out by Jean Vellante, knocked out by Jimmy Manuwa, knocked out by Ovin St. Preux. And now there's no shame in getting knocked out by any of those 3 guys. That all 3 of them are very tough. And of course, Corey Anderson has gone the distance with heavy hitters like Ilir Latifi. Sean O'Connell was no picnic back in the day. Aside from that, what I would actually say is, aside from Shogun, everyone that he's ever fought with knockout power has pretty much knocked him out. If we look at, aside from Latifi, if we look at OSP, Manuwa, O'Connell didn't, but then Lawler doesn't have KO power, Maldonado doesn't, Blachowicz doesn't. I know you're probably thinking, hang on a minute, Blachowicz KO'd Luke Rockhold, but if you look at Blachowicz's record, you go back through all his wins, doesn't really have many wins by KO at all. So Blachowicz isn't really that dangerous, not that impressive, not being knocked out by him. So the point I'm trying to make is Anderson is a little bit chinny, which could obviously get him into a hell of a lot of trouble in this fight against Johnny Walker. And I'm not just saying he's chinny because he's been knocked out 3 times. Of course, there's no shame in being knocked out against these guys. But the point I'm trying to make is when you see Anderson standing, he does look a little bit fragile. And obviously that's a big issue against Johnny Walker, who has devastating knockout power. As well as going back and watching Anderson's last 3 or 4 fights. I've also watched these 3 fights from Walker in the UFC, which literally didn't take very long. Took less than 3 minutes to watch his last 3 fights against Khalil Roundtree, Justin Ledet, and Misha Serkinov, and very, very, very nasty KO power. So whenever you're betting against this guy, you know that you're taking a chance, because on his day he's got the power to KO anyone dead. Doesn't matter if they're Corey Anderson or John Jones, he can catch anyone. So you've always got to factor that into your decision making. So in terms of what Corey Anderson brings to the table, strong wrestler, cardio for days, never gets tired. This guy can fight at a high pace for 10 minutes, absolutely no problem. As well, he is a strong wrestler, heavy top game, because his cardio is so great, he can do a lot of damage from top position. The one thing that I think may get him into trouble here is most of his takedown shots come above hip height, and they come up against the cage. So if you think of some strong wrestlers, think back to GSP in his day, where he would launch himself across the octagon and practically spear guys to the ground. If you think of like that kind of takedown, that kind of double leg takedown, that kind of power double leg, well, that would be very effective against a guy like Johnny Walker, because it means you can shoot in on him outside of his range, which means his window of opportunity for landing something crazy like a big shot or a knee are much slimmer, because he's got to time you perfectly on your way in. Whereas if you look at guys like Corey Anderson that like to shoot above hip height, that means that in order for Corey Anderson to get a takedown, usually he's got to get hold of a guy, drive him into the cage, then start working for a takedown. And that's where he could get into trouble here, because as he's trying to close the distance and put Walker on the cage, he's prone to eating the vicious elbows in the clinch that Walker was able to land to KO Khalil Roundtree. He's liable to run into some crazy spinning attack that Walker landed on Ledet, or even walk onto a flying knee. I mean, at least in these 3 UFC fights, Walker didn't land any flying knees, but he certainly attempted a couple against Khalil Roundtree. Or he actually did catch Misha Serkinov with a flying knee. I thought I'd seen him land flying knees on people for some reason. I don't know why I forgot that. Maybe it's because it's getting late at night and I'm feeling a little bit tired. But yeah, Walker looks for the flying knee as well, and his timing's very good, very quick, very explosive. So that is what Anderson brings to the table. Classic striker versus grappler matchup. When we're now studying footage on Walker, just think, can this guy get inside and get drive Walker into the cage and get a takedown before Walker is able to land a kill shot? And it probably won't take much to land a kill shot, because like I say, Corey Anderson is very, very chinny. So boys, I will just run through some questions from the live chat on Twitch, and then once I've got through these questions, we're going to go into watching some footage from Corey Anderson. But I would say, boys, if you're watching on YouTube and this video experiences a cut in a few seconds, it is because I want to play you one of Johnny Walker's recent fights from the Contender Series against Henrique de Silva, which is available on YouTube, but I don't know if it's going to get copyright flagged. I know I can use it on Twitch. I don't know if I can use it on YouTube. You can usually, and just what happens is the UFC will get all the ad revenue from this video, so it shouldn't be a problem. But if the video gets cut here and you miss a chunk of this video, it's just because it's copyright restricted on YouTube. I don't think it will be. I think we'll be good. So now let's go and answer some of these questions from the live chat on Twitch, twitch.tv/Diary of a Pro Gambler. Remember, boys, hit the fucking like button, and if I get 1,000 likes on this video, as soon as I get 1,000 likes, we will drop that Diaz Masvidal breakdown video. So Ground Zero has said, Ground Zero bringing up a great point by saying that Walker's quality of training and the money he was earning before he came into the UFC was very poor. Since then, he has taken out 3 people in 3 minutes, which shows massive improvements over the last year. But it's impossible to measure how big his improvements have been because there's so little footage available. Yes, it pretty much sums up how I feel before we jump into watching some footage on Walker, mate. Shawnee B has asked, do I think Gillespie smashes Lee? I haven't researched that fight yet, mate. Definite integral, yes, man. Thank you. Tobias is a beast, boys. Don't forget to let him know in those YouTube comments. Lee Dosis has said, yo, Allsop, thank you so much for everything, mate. Around February, I was betting around £20 on a live bet. Nowadays, on average, I'm betting over 400. Boom! Making money, one of my biggest passions. Hopefully, we have many more years of betting on the best sport in the world. Thank you for everything, mate. Love you, Lee Doses. So, Lee Doses, one of my elite members, now crushing it. And, bro, we make more in one night than most people earn in a month on live betting. So, yes, life is good, man. Shout out to you, Lee Doses. Hopefully, we can crush it again this weekend, dude. So, Irish brother has said he was watching Masvidal and Diaz the other day and he thinks Diaz outvolumes Masvidal. Interesting. So apparently Ground Zero dropping mega knowledge has said that Johnny Walker's training in Russia because he's trying to get a citizenship there for some reason. Turning Screws said, I'm on Anderson here, but scared to bet him since he can get nuked at any moment. Yeah, I know, man. Johnny Walker's a goddamn nightmare, man. Shawnee B saying he thinks Anderson wins as much as it pains him to say it. Penal Erecto saying, I don't think Anderson's going to fuck around here. I think he's going to go straight for the takedown. He should, man, or he could be in big trouble. Rivers of Red saying it might be the end of Johnny Walker's hype train. I agree, dude. Definitely could be. So Turning Screws is just reminding us of something that Corey Anderson said on the Joe Rogan podcast. So Anderson used to live life like he was cutting weight. So he would constantly train in mind for cutting weight, and he would walk around at about 205 pounds, but now he lives normal, eats better, he's more chilled out, so he walks around at 230 pounds and cuts down to 205, and he said that has helped his chin out a lot, which it might have done because, you know, like if you look at his record, you know, over the last sort of couple of years, you know, he has fought some heavy hitters in Glover and Latifi and hasn't been knocked out. And, you know, the head kick that landed from Owen St. Preux, it would have been enough to knock anyone out, you know what I mean? So, yeah, he could be right. Maybe his chin has improved a lot. Rivers of Red has said Walker has a reach advantage. It's only 3 inches though, mate, which isn't statistically too big of a deal at light heavyweight. So I wouldn't worry about the reach too much in this fight. Plus, it's not like this is going to be a kickboxing match. Corey's going to try and be all the way in or all the way out. Master by Jazz has said Corey's path to victory is wrestling. The question is Johnny Walker's grappling and takedown defense. I think we're going to get a good chance to learn about Walker's grappling and takedown defense in this video when we study some fights. Rivers of Red has said he's Brazilian, so I doubt he has bad jiu-jitsu. I would be surprised. Well, you know, I think you might be surprised, dude. I think you might be surprised. Quasistradamus has said, will the football videos reappear and how's that going? Do you know what, dude? Literally, ever since I got back from Singapore at the end of August, I've barely watched a football match, man. Like, the amount of MMA we are getting hit with at the moment is unbelievable. Like, Bellator having like 1 or 2 events every week. Aside from MMA, I can't get near another sport. So, hopefully football videos will reappear if like the MMA schedule dies down a bit. But if Bellator keep going the way they're going, literally all I can do is basically bet MMA and research fights. So I'm not sure at the moment, man. There's way more Bellator events this year than there ever have been before. So Penny Lane is bringing up a really good point as well. So Penny Lane has said, how do you think Walker's separated shoulder from his dance after he won his last fight against Serkinov is going to affect his ability to stuff the takedown and anything really? I mean, even throw punches, block punches, it affects you in multiple ways. That's a really good point. So after Johnny Walker knocked out Misha Serkinov, he jumped to the ground and did a worm dance and dislocated his shoulder. So yeah, that could definitely have an impact on his ability to stuff takedowns, to wrestle, work his way back to his feet, throw punches, everything. It's a really good point, Penny Lane. It could definitely impair him here. There's no doubt about it, mate. There is no doubt about it. Alright then, boys, let's get into watching this fight. And again, if you are watching on YouTube, I do apologise if you are about to miss out on a big chunk of this video. But it's available to watch on twitch.tv/Diary of a Pro Gambler if you wanted to check this out. So this is Johnny Walker's fight from Dana White's Contender Series, and it took place in August 2018, so just over 1 year ago. And you know, with it taking place just over 1 year ago, Johnny Walker only having a year to improve, I'm sure, you know, like Ground Zero said, Walker might look a little bit better on Saturday night than he does in this fight, you know, having been earning extra money, all the bonuses he's had, he can probably afford to live good, train good, eat good now, whereas, you know, back then in 2018 he might not have been able to, might probably work in full-time jobs and all sorts on the side and eating McDonald's because, you know, good quality food costs a lot of money. Probably will improve a lot since then, but this fight should give us a decent idea of what to expect, because also remember, Johnny Walker's last 3 fights have ended very quickly, all flash KOs, so we don't know a lot about where he's currently at in his career, whereas this fight actually went the distance, so we should get to learn a lot about Johnny Walker here. And before we get into this, let's have a quick drinky poos. Here we go. And just one more thing, Ground Zero saying the shoulder surgery recovery time is 6 weeks. That's true, but remember that when you dislocate something, it can become a weakness, where like once you dislocate your shoulder once, it can become much easier to keep dislocating it. So it's one of those things where even though, you know, technically Walker might have recovered from surgery, it still doesn't mean that there's not a weakness there that could cost him, you know, when he's trying to defend takedowns, throw punches, block strikes, that kind of thing. So let's get into this fight then. Henrique da Silva against Johnny Walker. This fight went the distance, took place just over 1 year ago, about 14 months ago. Here is Johnny Walker looking in great shape as always. Let's see how he does here. Does he go for the explosive flim-flam start like we've seen in his 3 fights in the UFC so far? Switching stances already. Very nice push kick to the knee. Looking very loose here early. Lots of switch stances. Good movement. Good footwork. No crazy explosive attacks yet though. But there he goes upstairs, and there's the trademark flying knee. Very, very nice. And remember, Henrique da Silva was released by the UFC a couple of years ago, and this was this was a fight on the Contender Series for him to try and get back into the UFC. So now we get an opportunity to see a little bit of Johnny Walker's takedown defense, because Henrique da Silva driving him into the cage, working for a takedown. Johnny Walker go into that tie clinch though that he loves, the tie clinch he used to knock Khalil Roundtree out. Very, very nice. He's trying to create some distance here for him to be able to land the knee, but Henrique da Silva doing a very good job of preventing him from doing that by staying postured up and working for underhooks, which makes it more difficult for Johnny Walker to control his upper body and land one of those clean knees. You see how Henrique's got his left arm down, always trying to fire underneath the right arm of Walker, which makes it difficult for Walker to pull the head down and land the knee. You can see that's why Walker's having so many problems here landing the knee to the head, and he keeps having to land the knee to the body. It's because Henrique's always got one arm underneath Johnny Walker's arms, which means he can't create the angle to pull the head down. Very, very nice clinch defense there from Henrique, and you know, a relatively scary position for most guys when they fight Johnny Walker. It wasn't that scary for da Silva. He was able to defend those positions quite easily there. And a big shout out to Shahrukh10. Thanks a lot for subscribing on Twitch, mate. I really, really appreciate it, dude. Thank you very much, man. Thank you very, very much. So more clinch work from Johnny Walker, but hasn't really been able to land anything in this position. He keeps looking for the knees, and he finally, I was just about to say, isn't really throwing many elbows, and then he uncooked a huge elbow. So far so good for Henrique. You know, Walker moving well, very strong in the clinch, but not achieving too much so far. And, you know, he may as well have sent a text message to Henrique telling him he was going to throw that spinning kick there. Missed wide, nowhere near it, and threw it quite slow as well. So Walker becoming a little bit more predictable now. A spinning attack, missed wide, very slow. And around about the midway point in the first round now, Walker doesn't appear to have as much pop in his shots. You know, when you think of how he comes out in the UFC, very explosive, very fast. Whereas here, you know, his hand speed, you know, not really blowing your hair back. Doesn't look like he's got too much power in his hands. He's throwing lots of unorthodox, crazy spinning attacks, but not looking as devastating as he had in his first 3 fights in the UFC. And there we see as he backs up, taking a deep breath away from Henrique. He hits a very nice left hand for his trouble there as well. And Walker just starting to look a little bit sloppy here. Like, it's clear that the boy has got, or the man, the myth, the legend, he's got big boy power here. Very, very big power. But is, even just 3 minutes into this first round becoming quite a bit sloppier. And also, shout out to Lidosis, man. Lidosis is gifting all kinds of subs to people. Shout out to you, Lidosis, man. Spending some of that money we earn on live betting on the weekend, man. So Ground Zero has said, can you confirm that this fight was short notice? Basically, most fights on the Contender Series are short notice. Fighters only tend to get like 3-4 weeks notice before taking the fight. They rarely get longer than that, so I would imagine this fight is short notice. So, in the first round, Walker started very well, very light on his feet. Strong in the clinch and landing big shots on Henrique de Silva there. Not sure if I could see Corey Anderson taking those kind of shots. You saw Henrique's head snapping back there. Walker landing huge punches. And there we get to really and truly see the first little bit of takedown defense from Johnny Walker. Silva shot in on a very nice deep double leg takedown. Walker was able to stuff the initial attempt, but Henrique's done a great job of keeping hold of the single leg. Walker's tried to clear his legs though and sprawl out of it. And he's done a very, very good job. And now attacking Henrique de Silva with the guillotine. So someone in the live chat was saying they wanted to see Walker's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Couldn't imagine him having bad Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with him being Brazilian. And there we get to see the first little bit of it. So that was the first round. Walker definitely moves well early. Definitely hits hard. Definitely strong in the clinch. But maybe not as quite as scary as he's appeared with his 3 flash KOs so far in the UFC against Khalil Roundtree, Misha Serkinov, and who is the third guy? I am getting dementia. Justin Ledet. So what I would say is Justin Ledet usually has got a granite chin, so knocking him out very, very impressive. But Serkinov and Khalil Roundtree have been a little bit chinny in their career, so perhaps not as impressive. And even now, at the beginning of this round, Walker landing big head kicks. Not so much the axe kick, obviously that's not going to do too much damage, but the big head kicks, you have to ask yourself, and a huge right hook landed behind the ear then. You have to ask yourself at this stage in the fight, right? So Walker, I think it's quite clear with Walker that the longer you go with him, the less dangerous he becomes, because, early on in the fight, he was switching stances, very light on his feet, very explosive. And then literally within a couple of minutes, he'd become a lot slower, a lot more flat-footer. And because of that, it becomes less dangerous. But at the beginning of this second round, where, Walker's had a minute to recover in between rounds, he opened up by landing a massive right hook that landed behind Henrique's ear. 2 big head kicks. Now you have to ask yourself, if he were to land those shots on Corey Anderson, would Corey Anderson be able to take those shots? Right? Would he be able to survive those shots? Very, very difficult to say. I would be leaning towards no, because, like I say, Anderson has been quite chinny in the past, and we know Walker carries major power. But now we get to see again a little bit of a little bit of Johnny Walker's takedown defense on display. Let's just go back and actually look at exactly what happened here. So that's the big right hook that landed behind the ear, and then we now see Henrique de Silva shoot a single leg. So here, terrible takedown defense already from Walker. So there's multiple things that he's doing wrong in this frame. So the first thing that he's doing wrong is you can see that his feet are very, very close together here, very, very square. Now, when you've got such a big guy like Johnny Walker, 6'5", he should be spreading his legs out, shifting his weight onto both legs, creating a nice wide base to make it extremely difficult for Henrique de Silva to complete the takedown, but because his feet are so square together, it's so easy to upset his balance and take him down. If you go back and watch Joanna Jędrzejczyk's second fight against Claudia Gadelha, that's a masterclass in how to create a wide base against the cage. Watch her and you'll see exactly what Walker is doing wrong here. The second thing that Walker is doing wrong is, I don't know what exactly he's trying to do here with his right arm in between Henrique's legs, but what he should be doing in this position is fighting for an underhook and working to break the grip of Henrique. I mean, Henrique's got such a strong grip around this leg. This takedown defense is just not good. I have no idea really what Walker is trying to do here, and because of that, inevitably, Henrique completes this takedown quite easily. I mean, look, it's not like Walker's been caught cold here. I mean, he's been in this position for a good 5 seconds now. What is he doing with this hand, and what is he doing with that hand? He should be trying to fight for underhooks here, create a wide base, and try and break the grip of Henrique, but instead he's pushing down on the head, and for some reason he's got his right arm in between Henrique's legs, which isn't doing anything. So really, really poor takedown defense from Walker here, and because of that, inevitably he gets dumped on his butt. But it then shows you, wow, so then we get to actually see why he had the hand between Henrique's legs. He used it to create a reversal as soon as they hit the ground. So watch what he does here as Henrique de Silva powers into this takedown. Any second now. He's going to go for it any second now. Boom. And you can see here he's still got the hand on Henrique de Silva's butt, which allows him to create the scramble, or the reversal, sorry, and end up on top position. Because see as well, he's got that head trapped here so that he can roll Henrique de Silva and end up on top. So worked out nicely for him on this occasion. But remember, Henrique de Silva is a kickboxer, not a very strong wrestler. Those kind of flim-flam techniques are not going to work against a higher level grappler, a higher level wrestler like Corey Anderson. So it worked out for him there. He's able to reverse and then explode back to his feet. But generally speaking, you don't see guys do shit like that because it won't work as you start to face a higher level of grappler. Now we can see Walker here has slipped on a banana skin, throwing a knee. Oh, Zajero is showing off our new Joe Rogan emote. Oh yes, the Joe Rogan emotes. Boys, I have also... Right, so Twitch, they take like a week to approve new emotes. So I've got 2 more emotes that are waiting for approval. They should be done pretty soon. But boys, basically every time I get 10 paying subscribers on Twitch, let me just stop this so you know how to get Joe Rogan, yeah? Everybody's posting Joe Rogan emotes. Okay, boys, so basically, when you subscribe on Twitch, basically it means you give me money, right? And I don't know why anyone would do that, but if you do give me money by subscribing on Twitch, I really fucking appreciate it, because you don't basically get anything for your money. So I don't know why you would do it, but shout out to you for your generosity, right? So basically, all you get for subscribing to my channel on Twitch, pay like $4.99 a month. Oh, there's just Joe Rogan everywhere in my face. You pay $4.99 a month, and you get access to like exclusive emotes, right, that I design and upload. And basically every time I get 10 people subscribe to Twitch, I get a new emote slot. So right now I've got enough enough subscribers on Twitch for 5 emotes, right? So I got like 40 subscribers. I'm not going to get into the details. I got 5 slots. Every time I get another 10, we'll get an additional 1 emote. So Joe Rogan is there, boys, in the live chat on Twitch. Everyone's spamming shit out of him. I just see Joe's everywhere. Coming soon. Oh, I can show you, boys. I can show you, boys. Why not just show you? Check this out, boys. These emotes are currently pending. What do you think of this? So we have got Eddie Bravo coming soon. And we've also got Brendan Shaw, boys, coming soon to Twitch. And as you can see, we've got 3 more slots, boys. 3 more slots. So what I want you to do, as well as Bravo and Shub and Rogan, what I want you to do, guys, leave a comment on YouTube below. Leave a comment and let me know what other emotes we should get going, yeah? Let me know what other emotes. Any day now, Shub and Eddie are going to be approved by Twitch, right? So drop a comment. We got 3 more slots to fill. Let me know what emotes you want and we will get them designed. But nice one, boys, for anyone that is subscribed on Twitch. I think the way it works is if you have Amazon Prime, you could basically subscribe to my channel for free and I get like $2.50 every time you do that. And every time we get 10 new subscribers, we get a new custom emote. People are spamming the shit out of the Joe Rogan one. So yeah, any day now we're going to get Eddie Bravo and Sherb approved. Drop a comment below on YouTube. Let me know what other ones you would like. People are saying Zips wants Jeff Nowitzki. I like that one. Tasmanian187 wants Dana's face. I love that one. Matty Betts has got Chael Sonnen. That's a great one. The Diaz brothers, 209. Calabib. I love it all. Boys, do me a favour. I will forget these. All these suggestions, I love it, right? I love all these suggestions. Please, 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 go on YouTube, leave a comment below and remind me of all your suggestions, boys. They are dope. I love them all, but I know I'm going to forget them. And the Twitch chat disappears after the video is done. So, boys, you've got to remind me. I love these. I love these. Dana Matt, Jeff Nowitzki's an amazing one. Joey Diaz, another good one. Chael Sonnen, boys, you've got to. But yeah, we've got 3 more slots for emotes. And then the more subscribers we get, we'll get more and more. But yeah, I love the Rogan one. Eddie Bravo, Brendan Shaw coming soon. Let's get back to these videos. And I'm sorry for everyone watching on YouTube, but Twitch, man, I love Twitch. And it is pretty cool how we get these custom emotes. So now we've got Johnny Walker in half guard. Let's see a little bit of his top game here. You know, Henrique De Silva, we know from when he was on, or when he was in the UFC, certainly very weak off his back. Doesn't have the best ground game. And Johnny Walker looks very heavy from this top position. He's a very big boy, 6'4", very strong, very powerful. Henrique looked like he was about to slip out the back door there, but retreated on it. Nice to see a little bit of Walker's ground game here. Here he's trying to slip his left leg out and move to side control. Can he get it? Oh, he goes to mount. Fucking didn't bother with side control. Went straight to mount. Again, it's cool he went straight from half guard to mount. That wouldn't always be too easy against a higher level grappler. And here we see Henrique giving up his back. Johnny Walker's been caught far too high up on Henrique's back. And he's probably going to slip off here. All Henrique has to do is slip out the back door. He hasn't got the energy to do it. Instead, Walker makes him go belly down. So if Henrique De Silva had a bit more gas in the tank, he could have slipped out the back door there and shook Johnny Walker off and made Walker pay for being so high up on him. But as it happens, didn't have the energy to complete it. And now we see Walker working to take the back. Now, obviously, the footage we're watching is not telling us that much because Corey Anderson's a grappler, right? He's a wrestler. It doesn't really matter what we're seeing here. If he goes to the ground with Corey Anderson, he's going to be in big trouble. But very bad position for Henrique De Silva to find himself in. Arm is under the chin. Walker working for the palm-to-palm rear naked choke. Doesn't get it. Indicating that Walker perhaps doesn't have the best technique there. And because of that, he's going to wind up on the bottom, I would imagine. Can Henrique De Silva muster up enough energy just to clear his right leg of Johnny Walker's arm and end up on top? He can. Very, very sloppy ground game here for Johnny Walker. He even threw up a triangle there, and Henrique De Silva was able to shrug him off easily. So a minute left to go in the round. Let's see what Henrique De Silva can get going here. Remember, guys, Henrique De Silva is a very low level on the ground, and Johnny Walker is also showing to be a very, very low level on the ground here. And of course, what we want to be seeing in this position is, what is Walker going to look like if Corey Anderson gets him down? Is he going to be able to scramble back to his feet? Is he going to be able to work out of bad positions? I mean, there, literally through sheer athleticism and strength, no technique, we just saw him pick De Silva up and flip him around on his butt. He's not going to be able to do something like that to Corey Anderson. It's just because he's facing such a low-level grappler. And while we are watching this round tick down, see if we got any more questions. I love the suggestions, boys, for the emotes. Look, come on, Twitch. Like, Twitch take a week to approve emotes. It's going to be a while before we get that Sherb and Eddie working. But I'm glad you like the Rogan one, boys. Oh yeah, Matty Betts reminded me. I need to say boys and girls for the 0.3% of people watching this video who are female. It's basically my mum and my wife. Maybe my sister from time to time, although she won't admit to watching me. Lee Dosis is saying that with how bad Walker's wrestling is looking, Anderson is becoming a tempting bet. So I do kind of agree with you, dude, for sure. I do. Drantnail17 it said, "Did your mum and sister follow your bets?" No, you know what, dude? Over the years they've wanted to, but then they were like, "Oh, we'll just give you the money and you can place the bets for us." I was like, "Bitch, I ain't got time to do that. You fucking crazy? Place the bets yourself, man." So like most people, they're just too lazy to do it. But they have flirted with the idea for the last fucking 10 years. It's just laziness, man. And okay, so at the beginning of this third round, we are seeing Walker look very, very tired. Very flat-footed. You know, you look at Walker now, boys and girls, and you compare him to the first round where he was light on his feet, he was switching stances, very, very fast, whereas now, flat-footed, you know, chin up high and exposed, hands down low, taking deep breaths, striking defense has gone out the window, and you've got to remember, Corey Anderson is a cardio machine. He can fight at a high pace for 15 minutes. Anderson's just as effective in the first minute as he is in the 15th minute. So look how sloppy Walker looked there. You know, you can imagine with Walker looking this sloppy, this tired, this flat-footed, it's going to be an absolute cakewalk for Anderson to put this guy on his back. All he'd have to do is shoot a deep single leg, deep double leg, put him on the ground. I mean, you can see, again, I will say it though, just like I said in round 2, you can see that when Walker is landing here, he's landing hard, and I don't think Anderson's chin could take these kind of shots. What you've also got to remember is, you know, Henrique de Silva's flat-footed, stood right in front of Walker. He's a sitting duck. He's there to be hit. Whereas Corey Anderson would be light on his feet. He'd be in and out. And, you know, you'd have to question at this stage in the fight, would Walker be sharp enough? Would he be fast enough to catch Anderson on the way in? Very, very, very unlikely. And yeah, a few guys talking about like potential props on this fight. But if we think about it, like obviously, you know, Walker by KO is a really likely outcome because he is dangerous. Even in this third round, we can see he hits very hard. But then we know Corey Anderson's chinny. But at the same time, the odds are going to be shit. Like, you know for a fact that if Walker's like a 1.67 fit, why do that? That indicates bad fight IQ as well, right? So if Walker's 1.67 to win straight, he's gonna be like 2.30, 2.40 to win by knockout, which it's just not worth it. There's not much of a margin there. But this also indicates Walker's got bad fight IQ. Like, why pick your man up and run across the octagon with him? I mean, it's quite clear at the beginning of this round that Walker's already tired. Yeah, he's clearly gassed out. So why would you exert more of the little energy that you've got left by picking your man up and running across the fucking octagon? It doesn't make any sense at all. You know, we can see Walker just about to pick Henrique de Silva up here. Henrique's too tired to get any defense going. He just picks him up and runs across the octagon. It just indicates bad fight IQ for me. Like, why? Why do that? It's just pointless. Absolutely pointless. And again, it doesn't tell us much about the Walker fight because, like I say, he's not going to be able to do that to Anderson. But, you know, yeah, heavy ground and pound on the ground and stuff. But he's not going to find himself in those positions against Corey Anderson. So, that's it, boys, for that fight. Let's go and watch another one. So, this is going to be Johnny Walker versus Shek Coney from European Beatdown 3 from back in March 2018, which was about 18 months ago. See what we got. This fight, Johnny Walker, Shek Coney, also almost said Shek Congo there. Johnny Walker Oh, mate, he's got moves. Oh, mate, he's got moves. Can't even fucking copy him, bro. Man, I'm not. Should I take my top off, boys? Nah, it's not happening. This is why he's gassed out. This is why he's got bad cardio. Check the fucking moves out. This is why he gasses out. Does a fucking magic mic routine before getting to the cage. You can see it in the air. Good taste in music too. You can feel it everywhere. Whoa, it's a passion. Whoa, feel it in the air. Whoa, he's got moves. The girls are loving it, mate. The girls are loving it. They came for some cage fighting. They got some magic mic on top. Bonus. Very, very nice. Mr. Johnny Walker. This is why he's gassed out, though. This is why he's gassed out. She's fucking loving it. She is fucking loving it. She is loving it. Johnny Walker's going to be a pot. They didn't even come for the cage fighting. They came for Johnny Walker. Yes. Yeah, they didn't come for the cage fighting. They came for Johnny Walker and 90s dance music. Oh, he changed his shorts as well. This guy's a pro. Not only does Johnny Walker have moves, not only does... Oh, they're not impressed. Maybe they're lesbians. These are the 3 lesbians in the crowd. Not only does Johnny Walker have moves, not only does he have devastating KO power, not only is he deadly, not only is he a good-looking chap, even with a questionable haircut, he also brings multiple outfits to a cage fight. Multiple outfits. That's what you're dealing with. When you've got a dude that brings multiple outfits to a cage fight, you can't fuck with that. I don't see Corey Anderson bringing multiple outfits to a cage fight. You don't get Corey Anderson changing costume before he gets into the cage. And that's what gives Johnny Walker an advantage here. You know what they say, boys, don't fuck with crazy. And Johnny Walker's definitely crazy. Well, let's see what happens, this poor man that has to fight him from about 18 months ago. What happens, this poor man? So, little bit of a size advantage for Walker here. It looks a little bit bigger than Coney. So Robinson Canolis dropping facts in the live chat on Twitch. We have no evidence that Walker's improved his cardio or grappling deficiency. 100%, man. 100%. Until I see it, I can't assume, you know what I mean? Just have to assume he's still got bad cardio and bad grappling. 100%. And Robinson Canolis also saying that if it goes past the first round, Walker is dead. I do tend to agree with you, dudes, because even though he still looked quite dangerous in the second and third round, you've got to remember, he did gas out bad when he was in total control. So, say for example, Anderson does get the takedown in round 1, beats him up on the ground, force him to carry his body weight. Walker's probably going to be gassed out of his mind in round 2 and 3. We can see here, though, he is very dangerous. But again, it gives up an easy single leg takedown. I mean, who the fuck is Shek Coney? We know for damn sure that he's not on Corey Anderson's level of wrestling. Look how easily Coney was able to put him down there. So it's red flag city, right, boys? Red flag city. I think it's fair to say that Walker is not bettable. Like, Walker's a very bad bet. Like, if you bet Walker, you are blind, because he's too flawed. You know what I mean? Like, I know Anderson's got weaknesses as well, but in order to bet this guy, you've got to give him a 65% chance of winning. Like, based on the takedown Coney just hit, based on how sloppy he looked in that third round against Henrique de Silva, his takedown defense. You know, remember, even though he hit that reversal when he first got taken round by de Silva, that shit don't work against Corey Anderson. You know what I mean? MMA Ledge is saying, I'm jealous I can't dance like Johnny Walker. You goddamn right. You see the way those women were looking at him in the crowd? Not the 3 lesbians, I mean all the other ones. Fucking right, I wish I could dance like him. 100%, mate. Who wouldn't want to be able to move like Johnny Walker? I don't know why he's even an MMA fighter, because people always say MMA fighters get paid like shit. Why isn't he in Vegas at the Magic Mike Tour or something? Dude's an absolute beast. Bet he can make a lot more money popping bottles with his butt cheeks. So I can't really call that a nice body lock takedown, really. I mean, his opponent with absolutely atrocious takedown defense, straight into mount, and with a guy that hits as hard as Johnny Walker, a guy as big as Johnny Walker, this is probably not going to end that well for Coney. I don't know when this fight ends, but I'm guessing it's pretty soon as a result of this ground and pound. Walker with absolutely vicious KO power, or ground and pound. It's certainly not a guy you'd want on top of you. Coney forced to give his back up, just like the Silver, but doesn't look like Coney's going to be able to survive this. Heavy shots landing. His video is almost done. Walker going to get enough shots off to force the ref to stop this any second. He is. But boys, don't get carried away with that finish, because like I say, this said more about what Coney did wrong than what Walker did right. I mean, look at this. Gets caught flat-footed with a body lock and just literally falls over into mount. So definitely not good from Coney. And now the next and final fight that I want to show you is from March. Oh, it's the same month as the last fight against Coney. So that fight was at light heavyweight. This was at heavyweight. Some people tell me this Makowiak fight was on short notice as well. So this was from March 2018. So, about 18 months ago now. See if we got any questions on Twitch. So Dradnail17 is just saying that this fight here that we're about to watch against Makowiak was Walker's third fight in 5 weeks. Lee Dosis123 has said, do you ever feel bad about criticising a fighter's skill set? Yes, man. Yes, all the time. I don't like what I do, man, because at the end of the day, I would never have the balls. To do a fucking strip routine on the way to the cage, dancing to Rhythm Is a Dancer, and then go into a cage against another man and cage fight to the death until a man that I trust with my life is brave enough to jump in and drag the other dude off me. I would never have the balls to do that. So yeah, for sure, man. I definitely feel bad criticising fighters. I 100% do, man. This is not something I ever wanted to do. It's not something I ever set out to do. Kind of just fell into it, got good at this, started making a lot of money from betting on MMA. And it's one of those things that, like, I would never have the balls to do what these guys do. So yeah, I do feel bad. But at the same time, it's just like, you got to put food on the table, right? And obviously, if it was just me, then, like it has been for the last 4 or 5 years before I set up a YouTube channel, I was just kind of keeping these thoughts to myself, doing my own thing. But now, I've got to think, like, I can't sit on the fence like a lot of other people and try and sugarcoat things, you know what I mean? Because you guys won't understand the reality if I sugarcoat things. If I come out and be super complimentary and try and find positives in Johnny Walker's style, it's not really giving you guys the real shit, you know what I mean? Like when I criticised Crone Gracie heavily a few weeks ago, and I criticised Ben Askren heavily last week, it's not because I want to be disrespectful to these guys or I don't respect them. Like, they're amazing, man. They're 100 times more the man that I will ever be. Like, I love Ben Askren, I love Crone Gracie. But I've got to talk about them in the way I talk about them. Otherwise, I don't know another way to express the reality of what I see to you guys. You know what I'm saying? So I just try and give it to you all real. But yeah, definitely don't like criticising fighters, because at the end of the day, they would fucking kill me. Any one of these guys would kill me in like 10 seconds. Do you know what I mean? If I had to fight Johnny Walker, I would literally, as soon as the bell started, I would turtle up in the corner and immediately tap the canvas and just hope that the referee jumped in and stopped the fight by the time Johnny Walker had enough time to fucking launch himself over the cage and crack me directly in the face. That would be my strategy for beating Johnny Walker. Get out of there ASAP before he had time to kill me. And now we just get to see a little bit of Johnny Walker's takedown defense here. So what's interesting about this is Makowiak's takedown entry, and shout out to Demon Slay for showing me how to go frame by frame on YouTube. So this is very significant here, because if I've gone back too far, this frame is the one I want. So, remember when we were talking about what Corey Anderson brings to the table? He shoots takedowns very high above his opponent's hips. And as you can see here, what has Makowiak done? Well, his takedown entry is very, very high above Walker's hips. This is the kind of takedown you'd usually see Anderson try and shoot. He'd drive his opponent into the cage, and then from above hip height, he looked to connect his hands around their legs or their waist on a double leg, drag him to the ground, and that's what Makowiak has got here. So gives us a little bit of insight into how Walker might do stuffing the exact kind of takedown that Corey Anderson's going to shoot. As you can see, not very well at all. Makowiak easily puts this guy on his back straight into half guard. So a very dominant position here for Makowiak. But remember, guys, as we start to wrap this video up, it's really important to start to think about this fight from a betting perspective, and think about what you're going to do on this fight. If there's any value, assess what probability you give both fighters. So remember, with Johnny Walker's average odds at the moment, 1.67 minus 149 for an implied probability of 60%. To bet Walker, you've got to give him a 65% chance of winning. Corey Anderson's odds 2.35, which is plus 135 for an implied probability of 43%. You've got to really cap him at 50% in order to bet him here. So just bear in mind when you're watching this fight, knowing Corey Anderson's quite a strong wrestler, but a little bit chinny. But where are you capping it? What probabilities are you giving these boys of winning? We can see here, Walker. I mean, the great part about this position as well, ultimately, I've used this fight footage in YouTube videos in the past to kind of break Walker down. And, when I criticise what Walker's doing in this position, I get the same rebuttals from people. They'll either say, Walker took the fight on short notice. They will say, Walker, this fight was at heavyweight. He usually fights at light heavyweight. And they'll kind of make excuses for how bad Walker looks in these positions. But to me, that's just a total cop-out, because this is 45 seconds into the fight. And Walker's been taken down. He's got his back tight to the cage. His opponent doesn't have any control of his body, doesn't have any control of his legs, and Walker just doesn't make any attempt to get back to his feet. Like, his opponent, aside from just grabbing the wrist there, his opponent hasn't had a lot since completing this takedown. Walker should have been looking to explode back to his feet very quickly. Like, he's thinking about it here, but he's not fully committing to it. And it doesn't matter, what weight class this is. It doesn't matter how short a notice fight this is. This is a technical mistake. This is not a tired mistake. This is 45 seconds in the fight. And he's just allowing his opponent to have this position. Every time Walker starts to look like he's going to use the cage to stand back up and post off the canvas, his opponent does grab the wrist and pull it off the canvas. But Walker's not fully committing to it. He's not exploding to get him back to his feet. He's not making his opponent work hard enough for this position. He's just accepting being here. And that's the issue that I have. This really is the issue that I have with Walker. Very, very casual being on his back. No urgency to get back up here when he should be fresh in a fight. I understand this fight's a heavyweight, but I mean, he's probably bigger than his opponent here. And while you watch him in the background, boys, I will just see if we got any questions on Twitch. And look, boys, Johnny Walker went from being in a strong position with his back tight to the cage, in a strong position to explode back to his feet, to now having his shoulders flattened out on the canvas with his opponent in half guard beating him up. And he's allowed his opponent to put him in this position. This at a stage in the fight where he wasn't tired. Hasn't really committed to getting back to his feet, and he's been on the ground for 2.5 minutes now. Looks like he wants to go to full guard here, but he can't even recover guard. His opponent's managed to stay in half guard, and again, Walker makes a critical mistake. So in this position, when you're on the bottom and needing to work your way back to your feet, you need to get your back as tight to this cage as possible. And when he was initially taken down, his back was tight to the cage. But now he's allowed his opponent to not only drag him away from the cage, but his opponent's also been able to switch from the right side to the left side and get his body in between Walker and the cage, which now makes it even more difficult for Walker to work his way back to his feet. Look, Walker is no longer able to use the cage to stand back up, because see, if you can visualize the camera panning around in this direction, there's space now between Walker and the cage, which means the cage is no longer a tool that you can use to stand back up unless he can get his back tight to the cage again. But it's more difficult now because with Makowiak being in half guard on the left side, he's created a barrier between Walker and the cage. And he fucking lucky. He's lucky there. The referee shouldn't be standing this fight up. At the end of the day, half guard is a very dominant position. Makowiak chipping away with ground and pound. The referee, very, very bad referee in there. He's done Walker a favour. And, you know, imagine if Makowiak were to get knocked out now. The referee would have absolutely shafted him and gifted Johnny Walker a win. But again, just like in that second and third round of the Henrique de Silva fight, really flat-footed, really sloppy. And what happens? Makowiak changes levels, shoots a very nice deep double leg takedown, and puts Walker on his butt with absolutely no takedown defense from Walker at all. Although what I would say is, if you cast your mind back to that first round of the fight against Henrique de Silva on a Contender Series, you do remember Henrique did shoot in on a nice single leg and Walker was able to sprawl out of it. So perhaps Walker's takedown defense has improved a bit here, but certainly not looking very good at the moment. He's just going to get beaten up again from top position for the next minute. So let's see if we got any more questions on Twitch. Kachuchika 420 has said, do you think that the timing and focus of Walker got much better since he got to the UFC? He seems to be able to find the knockout in any position, and he seems to have a better physique than ever. Yeah, man, of course, he's certainly going to have improved since these fights, you know, getting paid more money, probably been able to commit to training full time, where back then he was probably working a job to support himself. But, like, realistically, from a technical point of view, how much can you improve in 18 months? That is the question here. Has Johnny Walker's takedown offense and cardio and ground game improved enough in the last 18 months to keep a fight standing against a strong offensive wrestler like Corey Anderson? Okay, so these boys are back up again. Walker looking a little bit lighter on his feet here at the beginning of this second round, but unfortunately, so he actually, what's very interesting here, remember in that fight against Henrique de Silva where I criticised Walker for keeping his feet too square together, not trying to create a wide base to defend the takedown? Here you can see he's kind of trying to do that. If we go back a few frames, we can see that as his opponent shoots in, we go back a little bit here, as his opponent shoots in on this takedown, notice that his feet are very square together, which was what cost him and enabled De Silva to get the takedown. Whereas you can see he does try and create a wide base here, and he has a lot more success, Steph, in this takedown, but ultimately, just again, really, really poor takedown defense, just gets put on his butt again very, very easily by Makowiak. And again, looking very, very weak off his back, kind of looking confused and clueless and not knowing what to do. So I hope now you guys are starting to understand my reference to Michel Pereira. You know, we saw him come unstuck a few weeks ago. Very exciting in round one, very dangerous, very explosive. You know, no one's saying the Walker's not dangerous, no one's not saying he's got knockout power, but if you can just weather that early storm, very, very poor by the look of it. Very, very low level. You know, bad takedown defense, weak off his back. And also, like we say, as the fight goes on, he becomes significantly less dangerous, becomes very, very sloppy. And here we can see he's got absolutely nothing off his back. No idea how to improve his position. No idea how to get back to his feet. And again, he's allowed his opponent to get in between the cage and himself so that he can no longer try and get his back over to the cage, use the cage as a tool to stand back up. Just Walker lacks a lot here. And like, you know, guys in the live chat, they're saying, you know, he's probably improved a lot. He's probably, Makoviak's actually let him back up here. They're saying he's improved a lot. He's taking his fighting short. No, it's a different weight class. I get all that stuff. I do get all that stuff. But these are technical mistakes that he's making. And this fight was 18 months ago. You know, look at how much space Makoviak is giving him to stand back up here. Look at this. You know, in this position, it's almost like Makoviak gets bored of beating Walker up. Look how much space Walker's got here. He should be exploding back to his feet. He should just be standing back up. But instead, for some strange reason, he's deciding to hold on to a single leg and get his own takedown, which then enables Makoviak to jump back on top. Which again goes back to bad fight IQ. You know, you remember in the Henrique de Silva fight where for no reason, in the third round when he was already tired, he picked de Silva up and ran across the cage with him for no reason. So again, it just indicates really bad fight IQ from Johnny Walker. And again, really weak off his back, in half guard. Again, he's allowed his opponent to get in between him and the cage, allowed his opponent to easily move him away from the cage. And look, this fight is at heavyweight, but realistically, there's not that big of a size difference here between Walker and Makoviak. Yeah, I was just about to say, you know, when you look at how many weaknesses Walker's got in his skill set here, this fight was 18 months ago. You know, it's not like this guy's gone to train at ATT or Tiger Muay Thai or American Kickboxing Academy, all these super gyms that could help him tighten up these weaknesses. You know, at the moment, Johnny Walker's training at a small independent gym in Russia by the look of it. So, like, how much realistically from a technical point of view could he have improved in the last 18 months training at a gym like that? I'm sure he has improved a lot, but is it enough? Because at the moment, I'm looking at a guy with no wrestling, no takedown defense, and a very, very low level ground game, like blue belt level ground game. And if Corey Anderson gets Walker in these positions, he's going to smash Walker. There's no doubt about it. He's going to absolutely smash him. Jesus Christ. And then we see what Walker does best. So Makoviak made a huge mistake there. Again, just like we saw a few minutes ago, Makoviak gets bored of beating him up. Just lets Walker stand up and eats a death shot for his trouble. Huge knee. Finished up by Jesus Christ. Ref. What are you doing, bro? What are you doing, bro? The referee's had a bit of a mare. Who the fuck is this referee? Remember when he stood Makoviak up for no reason? Now, look at this. He's dead there. Like, his legs have gone. The kill shot has been fucking landed. He's fucking out. He's dead. He flops to his back. There ain't no coming back from this. He's fucking out. Now, the referee has seen this. The referee has seen this right here. This guy's eyes are done. He's fucking out. And look at this beast stood over him. Ref just stood there. Boom! Kill shot. Ref. You're going to let him take another one? Ref's like, oh, let's give him a little bit of time to work out of this. Does this dude look like he's intelligently defending himself? The referee is supposed to stop the fight when a man is no longer, or man or woman, is no longer intelligently defending himself. Look at this dude! After the kill shot that just landed. Does Makoviak look like he's intentionally defending himself? Boom! Head bouncing off the camera. He's having another look. And now finally, as the technically the fourth kill shot has landed if you count the knee. Finally he decides to stop the fight. He's still taking his sweet ass fucking time. And then I think Walker squeezes one more in. Holy fuck. What are you doing? The worst part about that stoppage was, if you remember, when Walker landed the knee, Walker and Makoviak were here, the ref was stood here. As the knee lands, Makoviak goes down, and the ref has swiveled over to this side to get a better view. What the fuck are you looking at, bro? You should literally have been half a foot away from Makoviak and Walker when that knee landed, and as soon as you saw that Makoviak was dead and there was no way he's going to fight through that, you should have literally jumped in there. You should have been jumping in there as Walker was just about to land that second follow-up shot. You don't let this dude eat 4 fucking death shots on the ground. Just took about 12 fucking years off this guy's life. Like, fuck knows what health conditions this guy could be dealing with. You fucking muppet. Who the fuck is this ref? Seriously. Anyway, boys, that is Johnny Walker. Like I say, boys, I don't share opinions. I just share facts. I just show you the truth for you to make your own mind up. You're all big boys. All I do is show you the footage, and that's it. That's why when I put these breakdowns out, I'm not giving you my opinion. Like I always say, I just study the fights, research the fights, just like I've done with you guys. Then I just share with you guys what I've seen. That's it. There's no opinions over here. It's just facts. And anyone watching these videos can see. I mean, you don't need to be an expert. You don't need to know that much about MMA to know that Walker has got serious holes that Corey Anderson can definitely exploit. There is absolutely no doubt about that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sum up how I feel about this fight now. Then we're going to wrap this up with some questions from Twitch. So if you do have any questions about this fight or anything else, drop the questions on Twitch, boys, and I will get to them now before we wrap this up. So let's summarise how I feel about this fight. So I think it goes without saying that at odds of 1.67 minus 149 for an implied probability of 59.88%, that implied probability means that you would have to give Johnny Walker a 65% chance of winning. And if you have eyes, if you understand probability, if you know anything about fighting, if you have a brain, you will understand that that's impossible. Johnny Walker's a terrible bet. I'm sure there are a bunch of people in the comments on YouTube that are going to tell me I'm wrong. They're going to tell me that he's going to knock Corey Anderson out. And you might be right. Johnny Walker's got devastating KO power. Corey Anderson is a little bit chinny. But remember, good bets don't always win. Bad bets don't always lose. And even if you bet Johnny Walker this weekend and he does win by KO, long term, if you put your money on fighters like this, you are going to get destroyed because there is absolutely no value in these odds. You might get lucky and you might win a bet on Saturday night, but long term, it is not a smart thing to do. You cannot bet Walker here if you are interested in making money long term. He is a very bad bet, and I don't really know how else I can explain that, but if you don't fully understand what I mean, I just recommend going and learning a little bit about probabilities and just understanding how many boxes you would have to tick to basically deserve a 65% probability. It's just not possible. So then the real question now becomes, is Corey Anderson worth a better underdog odds? Because we know he's a strong wrestler, and clearly that is Johnny Walker's Achilles heel. Very weak off his back, very bad takedown defense, very low level ground game. But obviously you might have to walk through hell to get into the range where you can put him down. And that's got to factor into our decision making. So we can't bet Johnny Walker. Can we bet Corey Anderson? So if we look at his average odds of 2.35, which is plus 135 for an implied probability of 43%. Personally, and my perspective on betting is very different to others, and that's cool. I'm sure you can link some Pinnacle Sports article in the comment section to counteract what I believe, what my philosophy is, but that's cool because Pinnacle Sports don't pay my bills. The bets that I win pay my bills, so I stick to what I know works. And what I would say is, if you are betting on fighters like Corey Anderson in fights like this, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out that it's a high risk bet. There's a significant chance that Johnny Walker's going to knock him out. Anderson's chinny, and Walker is devastating, hits very hard, right? So in order to bet on a guy like Corey Anderson, you need to be getting a good deal for your money. So whereas usually, on favourites, I'd look for between, say, a 3 and 5% margin over the bookie as a minimum margin to take. When it comes to underdogs, I need more of a margin. Now, there will be people watching this video that vociferously disagree with that, and they'll be like, well, if it's a plus EV bet, it's a plus EV bet. If there's margin there, there's margin there. And long term, you will definitely make a profit if you put your money consistently in plus EV situations. And of course, this is true in games of repeatable outcomes like roulette or poker or the flip of a coin, a game of chance. But remember, cage fighting is not a repeatable outcome. Johnny Walker and Corey Anderson will never fight at the same stage of their careers, in the same arena, in the same weather system, the same climate, after the same training camps. And for that reason, the general rules that would normally apply, the general thinking, that philosophy, it does not work with sports betting, because if you bet on Corey Anderson this weekend and he gets death shotted in 20 seconds by a flying knee from hell, the Walker launches from across the cage, it doesn't matter how much of a margin you had over the bookies. It doesn't matter how much of a plus EV bet it was. Ultimately, your money's dead in the water, and you never get an opportunity to roll that dice again in a plus EV situation. You never get to flip that coin again in a plus EV situation. And that is why it's very dangerous to have that mindset, because at the end of the day, if you're given plus EV odds on a coin flip, someone is giving you a more advantageous payout than 50-50, and they say, we can flip the coin 5,000 times and you can keep hitting the bet 5,000 times at those odds. Yeah, over the long term, you probably will make money. But if you know anything about probabilities, if you study big data, you will know that, if you do flip a coin 5,000 times, it's unlikely to come out 50-50. It might be, 54-46. It might be, 52-48. The longer you go, if you flip a coin 10 million times, yeah, it probably will be 50-50. But you need a large sample size to exercise that plus EV advantage. And in sports betting, you don't get it, because these are not repeatable outcomes. Corey Anderson and Johnny Walker will never fight again. So theoretically, you could place 100 plus EV bets and lose every single one of them, because there are no repeatable outcomes. So in bets like this, where there's a significant amount of risk on the table, I need to make sure I'm getting a very good deal for my money. So when it comes to placing bets like this, it all depends on your risk to reward ratio. I know some people that if they think that a fight will be very close, or they think a fight is going to win, they'll take any plus money. It don't matter if it's 2.05, which is plus 105, or 2.10, which is plus 110. They'll just take it. Personally, I don't like that, because my entire betting philosophy revolves around compound interest. And when you take losses, that significantly slows down your compounded interest growth. The only real metric, the only real statistic I care about is win rate. And obviously, when you place high-risk bets, that does affect your win rate, because naturally, you're going to lose more of these bets than you win. That's why it always makes me laugh when I'll recommend one of these high-risk bets to you with a very good risk-to-reward ratio, and then it loses and people make fun of me. Well, at the end of the day, you have to accept you're going to lose a lot of these high-risk bets. Just a few weeks ago, I bet Court McGee, very small high-risk bet to beat Sean Brady, because Sean Brady looked absolutely terrible in his fights before he came in the UFC. He looked a lot better in his debut against Court McGee. That's why they call it gambling. But when these bets lose, you need to make sure you're getting a very good margin on your money. So, for example, I capped that Court McGee Sean Brady fight at 50-50 based on how bad Brady looked outside the UFC. But McGee's odds were 2.8, which is plus 180, which gives him an implied probability of 36%. So where I capped that fight at 50-50, I'm getting a 14% margin over the bookie, and I'm happy with that, because I know that I'm going to be losing a hell of a lot of these high-risk bets. Because my margin is so good, I can afford to lose a lot and still make a very good profit over the long term. Whereas when you get into the territory of these odds, 2.35, is the margin good enough? Is the risk to reward ratio good enough? That's not a question for me to answer. There's no definitive answer. There's no right or wrong. I'm not going to tell you there is enough margin there to bet him. I'm not going to tell you there's not. You just have to determine if you are happy to bet Anderson for this payoff. Now, I do think it's very fair to at least bet Corey Anderson, at least cap Corey Anderson at 50%, which means you do get a 7% margin on your money. But then the question becomes, I'm not going to say I cap Corey Anderson at 50%. What I'm basically going to say is, this is the problem with these live stream videos, because they're live, right? I don't come out with a really scripted plan of what I'm going to say to you, and I don't like work out exactly where I cap a fight on the spot, because when I think about fights and I research fights, I very rarely make my mind up there and then. I like to do all the research, sleep on it, put a lot of thought into it, several hours of thought. And that's why I'm not just going to tell you right now exactly where I cap this fight, because I haven't truly made my mind up yet. But I will tell you some of the things I need to consider after this live stream is done. At worst, I can't even say at worst. What I would say is, if we think about capping Corey Anderson at 50%, all probabilities you assign a fighter of winning is a guesstimate, right? Because there are so many unknown factors that you can't bake into your decision making. So, for example, for all we know, Johnny Walker's shoulder could still be really injured, and he could throw a big right hook on Saturday night and he could dislocate it, you know? Corey Anderson could block the right hand, it would jar his shoulder, dislocate his shoulder. Corey Anderson wins by technical knockout due to Walker's shoulder dislocating. Corey Anderson could be coming into this fight with a blown MCL, so he can't shoot his double legs as effectively as usual, which makes his fucking takedown shots not as explosive, not as effective. You know, Corey Anderson could be, paralyzed by anxiety in the build-up to this fight, worrying about the knockout power of Walker. When Walker dances the octagon, it might get in his head, and then he's all anxious and he shells up and he's stiff and he just can't get inside and shoot that takedown on Walker. So he's too worried about walking onto a flying knee, so he goes into a defensive shell instead and ends up getting knocked out. There's all things that we can't assign a probability to because we don't know. Maybe Walker has a bad weight cut or gets fucking food poisoning or something, or maybe Corey Anderson has an argument with his wife the night before and she tells him she doesn't want him to fight anymore, and that's playing on the back of his mind on fight time. That affects his performance. All these things, right? So when we're looking at the probability on this fight, the main things that I am considering, understanding that this is a guesstimate, if we're looking at betting Anderson at 50-50, some of the things that could reduce Anderson's probability, if we're trying to cap Anderson close to 50-50, would be the fact that he is chinny and every round starts standing. So, we saw in the last fight that we watched against Makoviak and against De Silva that even into the second and third rounds, Walker still looks very, very dangerous, very heavy-handed, very explosive, still carries knockout power. Even in the second and that third round against De Silva, where Johnny Walker was looking very, very, very tired and flat-footed, when he landed, it still landed very hard. And I don't think Anderson's got the chin to eat those kind of shots. So, bearing in mind the fact that Corey Anderson's not really a finisher, if we look back through his record, absolute decision machine. Now, granted, these guys are a much higher level on the ground than Johnny Walker, but even back earlier in his career, not really a finisher, right? So if we assume the fight's going to go deep, even though Walker's a very low level on the ground, he seems a pretty tough guy, then Walker's got 3 opportunities at the beginning of every round to land a kill shot before Anderson takes him down. On top of that, we can't account for any improvements Walker's made. So it's tough. Every round starts standing. So bearing in mind that every round starts standing, is it fair to cap Anderson at 50-50? Does Walker deserve a slight edge? Does he deserve to be capped 55-45 in favour of Walker, 60-40 in favour of Walker? I mean, either way, there's still no value in his odds. But if the actual reality is that Corey Anderson doesn't have a 50% chance of winning, he has a 45% chance or a 40% chance because every round starts standing and Walker is still very dangerous very late on into the fight, well then there's no value in these odds. So that's why when we talk about probability and we talk about where to cap fights, and I talk about always putting your money in a strong position, getting a good deal in my opinion, always ensures you're putting your money in a strong position, because if we look at the Court McGee example, now he lost, but it's a very good example. So I personally capped the fight between Court McGee and Sean Brady as 50-50, right? Now, Court McGee lost a decision, 29-28 unanimous decision. But in the third round, he won the third round. Sean Brady was struggling with the pressure of Court McGee. And the third round, you know what I mean? Court McGee took over and looked very good. Now, going into the fight, I capped this fight at 50-50 because Sean Brady looked very bad in his past fights. And usually, generally speaking, when fighters make their UFC debut, as Brady's debut, they usually underperform. They very rarely look better than they did outside the UFC. But Brady was an anomaly. He looked a hell of a lot better on fight night in the UFC, in his debut, than he did outside the UFC. I couldn't have known that. You can't factor that into your probability. But what you can do is make sure you're still getting a good deal when unpredictable things happen. So, when we look at this 14% margin that I got on this bet, because the implied probability was 36% compared to the actual probability that I capped it as 50. Say, for example, I'm wrong, and the actual probability of Court McGee winning was maybe, 45%, and Sean Brady did deserve to be a slight favourite at 55. Well, at that probability, I'm still getting a 9% margin. So even if I cap the fight wrong, my money's still in a strong position. But let's go one step further. Say, for example, I capped the fight completely wrong and there were loads of things that I missed out. And Sean Brady deserved to have a 60% chance of winning. And Court McGee should only have been capped at 40%. Well, you're still getting a 4% margin, which isn't great, but it's still a margin. It's not a super strong position to put your money in, but it's still plus EV if I got it wrong and it wasn't a 50-50 fight. And then as soon as you start talking about Sean Brady being capped at 65% and 70%, that's ludicrous, because we know debutants very frequently underperform in their UFC debut. Brady didn't look good outside the UFC. The third round, the fight got very competitive as it went on. The pressure started to wear on Brady, and the fight ended, 29-28 unanimous decision. If McGee hadn't have been dropped so bad in round one, maybe he would have got going. Maybe the pressure would have started to pay off earlier in the fight in round two, and he would have won. But the point I'm trying to make is, when you put bets in a super strong position like that, even if you cap it wrong, there's still a margin for error. Whereas when you roll the dice on a guy like Corey Anderson, who already commands an implied probability of 43%, you don't have much of margin for error, which is personally why I like to get a better deal and a much better margin, like we got on Cub Swanson, like we got when we won our bet on Damian Maia last weekend. A very decent margin in the odds. We look at the fight between Damian Maia and Ben Askren. I capped that fight at 50-50. It was actually the other way around. This is a different example from the Court McGee example. So obviously we won a bet on Damian Maia last weekend. I kind of felt Damian Maia had a 60% chance of winning. Personally capped this 60-40 in favour of Maia, just because of how sloppy Askren's looked on the ground, in his past fights in ONE and Bellator. I felt Maia would really be able to make him pay if they started mixing it up on the ground, getting into the crazy scrambles. Now, because I capped that fight at around 60% territory, that would give me a 20% margin over the bookie. But if I was being conservative and went back to 50%, that's still a 10% margin. Even if, in actual fact, Askren deserved to be the favourite and capped at 55%, which I personally felt was ludicrous, I still had a small 5% margin over the bookie, which was still plus EV. So that is why, when it comes to Corey Anderson at these odds, I am struggling to pull the trigger on Anderson, because even though I kind of cap it at 50%, I'm not sure if I do, because every round starts standing, and if I am wrong, there's no margin for error. I'm not putting my money in a strong position. So I hope that makes sense, boys. I know it's complicated, I know I waffle, I know I talk way too much, and I know I don't get my point across very well, but I'm trying to fucking do my best. So that is how I feel about this fight, boys. What I will say is I'm not going to rule out a bet on Corey Anderson. I am going to rule a bet on Johnny Walker. There's no way I will bet him. I don't know if I'll be betting Corey Anderson. I'll give it some thought. I will give it some thought, because say for example his odds improve, right? Johnny Walker's a massive hype train. Say money comes in on Walker, Corey Hansen's odds improve up to maybe 2.60, which are not a million miles away from where they are now. That would give him an implied probability of 38%. Now that's starting to get into the territory I need, maybe 2.70, right? Because say for example at best you cap Walker at 60%. I don't think you can go any higher than 60%. I think at best this is a 60-40 fight in favour of Walker. Well, if that's the case and I do get it wrong and it's not 50-50, you're still getting a tiny 3% margin over the bookie, which would be a plus EV bet. So if it gets up into these odds, I'd have more of a decision to make. Whereas these, I'm probably going to pass, but I don't know. I need to sleep on it. I need to think about it. I don't like making rash decisions, you know what I mean? I always like to sleep on my bets. So anyway, you're a big boy, man. You can make up your own decisions based on what I've shown you. Drop a comment now in the Twitch live chat, boys, and I will answer some questions about this fight or anything else you want to ask me about. Let's just get off that, because that calculator can lag the browser out quite a bit. Zips has said, hey Allsop. Hey Zips. Zips is one of my elite members as well, man. Shout out to Zips, who's a professional, also a professional gambler. Zips is a professional poker player and one of my elite members. So he has said, would it be a good way to use props to hedge on certain pre-bets? For example, Tristan Connolly to win and a prop on Michelle Pereira to win by KO in round 1. That is a good idea, Zips. The problem is the max bet limits and liquidity is so low on props that when you start to bet bigger amounts on the pre-fight bets, you won't be able to hedge your bets with props, because like say for example you're betting a few thousand on a pre-fight bet, there's no way you'd be able to bet a few thousand on a prop because the max bet limits are too low. So when your bankroll's small and you're just starting out, it is a really good strategy, but it's not really a long-term strategy for you to rely on, because there's just no liquidity in prop bets. Kamikaze82 is saying, thinking about betting Anderson here, but maybe just a unit because of the death shot risk. I agree, dude. The death shot risk is real. So it looks like everyone's capping this fight at 50-50. Penal Erecto is capping it at 50-50. Kamikaze82 50-50. Quastradamus 50-50. Or even, so Quastradamus even thinks it's 55-45 Anderson. I didn't even think of that. Maybe that's fair. So Schlo22 has said he's just walked into the live stream and seen the Walker's got bad fight IQ and skills on the ground, so definitely not a 65-35 fight. I agree, dude. Rivers of Red is saying, yeah, I agree. After seeing this, I'd say it's at 50-50 fight. I agree, dude. Mastered by Jazz saying 7% margin is not enough. He passes. Good to be disciplined, dude. Very, very smart. Lidos is saying 5% margin is good margin. Can't argue with that either. I agree with both of you, man. I think you're both right. Ground Zero said Walker will be much better after a year of training versus Chinny guy. Not sure I'd take an early bet on this fight. Yeah, fair enough, dude. Quastradamus saying agree, if you wait for 10% you're not making many bets. Yep, good point, man. Very hard to get a 10% margin. On favourites, it's pretty much unheard of. Like, I've probably placed well over 100 bets this year, and I could probably count on, not including live bets, probably count on one hand the amount of times I've got a 10% margin on favourites. I probably haven't, to be honest. I can't remember any examples. I think Adesanya might have been, actually. Adesanya to beat Whittaker might have been. So I capped him at 70%. Yeah, so I gave Adesanya a 70% chance of winning, and the odds were 1.91 for 52% implied probability. So yeah, we had almost 20% on Adesanya, but that's a unicorn bet. They're very, very rare. And the odds were only way off on that fight because of the media hyping Whittaker and exaggerating his skills. So the odds were off, but they're not usually that badly off. Kamikaze82 asking for a death shot emote. That is a good idea. Who can be the victim of the death shot? That's a good idea. We need a death shot. So Penal Erecto's brought up a really good point I forgot to mention because he didn't actually go to it in the earlier fights that we watched later on. So Penal Erecto is saying that Johnny Walker is always going for the tie clinch, and this will make it easier for Corey Anderson to change levels, drop down, get the underhook, get the body lock in play, and complete the takedown. Very, very good point, Penal Erecto. So Kamikaze82 is saying, is this fight an example of where both guys have weaknesses that the other can exploit because it's their strengths? Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, obviously Anderson's chinny, Walker's devastating standing, at least in the first round, or even into the third round. Let's not be harsh. Like he still hit very hard in that third round against De Silva, and obviously his takedown defense is garbage. And Anderson, very strong offensive wrestler. Taz, thanks for the kind words, man. I really appreciate it, Taz. Thanks a lot, dude. Cafo next is said, what fight this year was the most entertaining for you to research? That's a good question, man. You know what? It might be this weekend. It might be Masvidal Diaz. I can't think of any others. Adesanya Whitaker was a good one. There are probably some others. I can't think, though. Till Masvidal was a good one. There's some good shouts. Paul Daly versus Michael Page. That was another good one to research. But probably a bit more fun for me because I'm British and I love both those guys. Nice one, Dries. Thanks, mate. Jody Gustin has said, I'm most excited about Lee versus Gillespie. Yeah, me too, mate. You know what? I'm actually going to go research that fight after this stream's done. So Jody has said that he's watched tons of footage on both guys and he believes Gregor is a great bet at minus 160, which would be 1.63 for an implied probability of 61%. I am heavily leaning towards Gregor as well, mate, but I haven't researched that yet. MC Kanye has said, will you be covering the Lee versus Gillespie fight this week? Yeah, man. I want to do a lot of breakdowns for you boys this week. Like, I haven't been putting out many YouTube videos lately just because the fucking MMA schedule has been relentless. But this week, we've only got one event. I started my research yesterday to get ahead of schedule. So, yeah, man, I'm going to be covering that fight. Remember, boys, hit the like button on the YouTube video. When the YouTube video gets 1,000 likes, we will drop that Diaz versus Masvidal breakdown. So get on it, boys. Matty Betts has said, what happens first, the death shot by Walker or the takedown by Anderson? That's the deciding factor, and for that reason 50-50 seems correct. I agree with you, man. That's kind of where I'm leaning towards at the moment, although the fact that every round starts standing is a little bit concerning. Thornton26 has said, this just seems like a pass, grab the popcorn, enjoy the fight. Good philosophy, Thornton, mate. I agree, dude. Turning Screws has picked Askren for the death shot emote. Oh, man. I feel bad for Askren, you know. I feel bad. He said I was watching a little bit of the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani before coming on, and Askren was on there, which takes a lot of balls because people are being such cunts to him online. They're being so mean to him. Like, at the end of the day, this dude dared to dream, right? He put himself out there. He flew to Singapore, fought in his underwear in front of millions of people against one of the greatest MMA grapplers of all time, and he fell short. Who gives a fuck? Like, he deserves praise for having the balls to go do that, and all these dicks shitting on him online. So I don't really want to do Askren for death shot because I feel like he needs a little bit of love. He needs a little bit of support, you know what I mean? He is a good shot, but he is a good shout, sorry, and probably the most memed fighter ever after that Masvidal knockout, but I think Askren needs a bit of love from the MMA community now. So 13 Cap has brought up a really good point. It said, I doubt Walker has been working on his wrestling while mending the shoulder. He isn't as experienced. I give Anderson 60-40 chance of winning. Similar hype on Johnny Walker, just like Crone. I won't disagree with anything you said, mate. And that's also a really good point. So where some of the guys in the live chat on Twitch are saying, you know, back when we watched these fights that we've seen in today's video, you know, Walker wasn't earning much money. You know, he probably improved a lot since then. You know, 13 Cap has brought up a really good point. It's going to have taken him a while to rehabilitate that shoulder, heal from the shoulder injury. You know, the dislocated shoulder's always got a weakness there, so that's going to take up some of the time that you will have had to have improved. So that's a really good point, 13 Kappa. Dratnail17 has said best death shot is Nate Quarry versus Rich Franklin back in the day. That is a good shout, mate. That is a blast from the past. So you see, there's probably a lot of people watching this video that weren't fans of that. Fans of the most dangerous math teacher of all time, Rich Franklin. So should we see if we can find a gif of it? Can't have a video or get copyright flagged. There's got to be gifs of it though. Check this out, boys. This is absolutely vicious. Absolutely vicious. Not a very good angle. Absolutely vicious. Nate Quarry, absolute legend. But that was a bad one. Look at that. Rich Franklin, the world's most dangerous math teacher. Absolute beast. That's a good shout, dude. Lee Dosis 123 has asked what TV shows I like. Mate, honestly, like I said to the guy that... look at my eyes, boys. Look at the bags under my eyes. I am so burnt out and run down at the moment. Literally, like... nothing. I don't watch TV ever. I don't do anything apart from fucking research fights and work on researching fights. That's it. Like, I don't watch any TV. Ever since I got back from Singapore, it's been mental. That's why, like what the guy said earlier, the football videos coming back. Oh, it's fucking no time. Ain't got time to watch football. Ain't got time to watch TV. So, everyone asking for the Overeem Ngannou death shot as well. That is a good shout, Jody. That is a good shout, Matty Betts. I think that is going to be it for this video, boys. What do you reckon? Let's wrap it up. And I am going to... I'm going to go research this Gillespie versus Kevin Lee fight. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, everybody. I had a lot of fun taking a deep dive into Johnny Walker and trying to find out, trying to answer the question, right? The title on this video was not clickbait. The title on this video was to try and discover, to try and work out, to try and answer the eternal question of life that everyone has been asking. How good is Johnny Walker? And I think we answered it in this video. How good is Johnny Walker? You know, before we did this, people talking crazy shit about, you know, Johnny Walker being the biggest threat to John Jones, being the next big thing in the light heavyweight division. I think that is a stretch. And just like last week when people were saying, you know, Ben Askren's the greatest MMA grappler ever, he's better than Khabib, it's fucking nonsense. All you've got to do is watch the footage to see that. You know, people saying Kron Gracie is the best grappler to ever compete in the history of MMA. It's all horseshit. It's nonsense. At the end of the day, remember, boys, I don't share opinions. I share facts. I just play footage and I just show you guys exactly what I see. And the camera doesn't lie at the end of the day. That's why I always say we don't share opinions here. We share facts. So hopefully you now know for yourself how good Johnny Walker is. And I think the answer is he is good, but he has a deeply, deeply, deeply flawed fighting style. And unless he tightens up that takedown defense and ground game, he is going to have big problems in the UFC. Can't see him going that far until he actually figures out that takedown defense. Because if his takedown defense looks as bad on Saturday night as it did in his past fights, I think he's got his hands full with Corey Anderson. But that is going to be it for this video, guys. Remember, hit the like button below and we'll get that Diaz Masvidal video out as soon as we hit 1,000 likes. Subscribe if you haven't already. And take care, boys. I'll be back extremely soon. probably tomorrow with another video or live stream, depending on which fights I'm focusing on. So thanks a lot, everyone, and don't forget to leave a comment below to let me know what you think of this fight. Will you be betting this fight? How do you cap this fight? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think Walker is the biggest threat to John Jones? Will you be betting Anderson this weekend? Will you be betting Walker? Let me know, boys. I love reading all your comments, even if I don't always have time to respond. So take care, everyone. I'll see you all very soon.